All right, we're live with another episode of the Real Estate Growth Secrets podcast, where I, John Garuti, interview top realtors from around the country. Today, we've got Stewart from Portland. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on the show, Ann. And I know it's unprecedented time. Things are going crazy in the real estate world for all of us, but
yeah,
we'll get into that a little. Let's start the show off with the humble brag, where you get to brag about your accomplishments, but you got to do it in a humble manner.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been selling real estate full time for 19 years. I've been a solo agent. I've run a team. I've been on a team. I've kind of done the whole gamut. I have a small team. We sell around 80 to 100 homes a year. I consider myself an ongoing learner. I never feel like I have it all figured out. In fact, just about the time I think I do, the industry changes and I'm kind of back to figuring out what the next move is. And speaking of that, as you said, we're in unprecedented times, and I have a feeling that we're all going to have to maneuver and do business a little differently for quite the foreseeable future. So this business will keep you pretty humble, even if you are successful. So I always, that's probably one thing I've learned over the years, is to never just, assume that you have it all together. So,
yeah. So what do you see, what's going on right now in your local market?
So we just got put on lockdown yesterday. We were approved as agents to perform essential services under very strict guidelines. So we can still conduct business as usual to some degree, but we're figuring that out day by day, to be frank. So yesterday was just hearing about the lockdown, having our brokerage approve the execution of the document that the governor sent through, that we could still perform our services and not be at a total hard stop. Today it was learning more about, can we close escrows, and our mobile notary is going to happen, and we're just learning day by day. It's just, there's so much up in the air right now. So yeah, but before that, our market was just absolutely booming. I mean, we had we still do have incredibly low inventory. In fact, in Portland, we just have a surge of people from out of state that move here. And so our inventory has just been, 1.6 months of inventory. So it's been incredibly low.
Yeah, a very, very good seller's market out there. That's interesting.
Yeah, I had a whole slew of people ready to hit the market, and then it just kind of came to an abrupt stop last week. So
yeah. So what are people that were ready to sell telling you? I mean, what feedback are you hearing from the homeowners?
But before this all happened, or
just like now that this is going on?
Well, I had some that were like, let's give it a week or two to feel out what this is going to look like. I think a lot of people are still wanting to do things. I have some people that put a hard no, like, we're going to wait this out. I have some people that, wanted to just give it a week and see how this all panned out. So I have some people that are just now talking about, should we look at getting together in the next week or so? And so I sent out an email to my entire database last week when this all kind of happened. And I had tremendous response from the database. It was unprecedented, actually, from my own, just from what we sent out. And it was basically just, they wanted to hear from me and want to know, like, what's going on our side. And I got a listing appointment out of it, which is on standby right now, just until we kind of figure out if we can meet face to face or if we have to go virtual. Sure. So I think we're going to find out really quickly that a lot of our activities can be done virtually. I actually have done a lot of virtual listing appointments in the last the last year. So I'm not opposed to doing them. It's pretty easy for me to do. Yeah. And I think we're all going to be heading in a direction in that way to some degree. And I think it'll stick.
Yeah, definitely. What do you see, and this is something I've been looking at every day, like how many new homes are being listed in my local market. And I've seen it's still kind of steady, but we're at about 4.7 months of supply right now. Do you think that this is going to shift everything towards that buyer market?
Oh gosh, if I could get my crystal ball out, that is a great question. I mean, it could be one of two things. Number one is, I think there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to put their houses on the market, either because they're going to refinance, they're going to stay put, they don't want to deal with, the market we're just coming out of. What people have to understand is that everybody had equity. Everybody who is a seller could do pretty darn well to some degree, right? We've been riding this uphill wave for quite some time. Now there's going to be a portion of those people that are going to say, well, I don't have to sell. Like, I can stay put for a while. I'd like to sell and go buy my next house or do something, but I don't have to. So those people will be put on standby. And then you're going to get those people that are, they're going to have to sell. And those are the people, agents, if you're listening, you're going to need to find those people to this app, because where there's a will, there is always a way. I was in the recession when people had no equity, and where there's a will, there's a way. And so that's really just recalibrating our mindset and realizing that we're probably going to go down. I mean, right now in Oregon, we're here in Portland, we're still at low inventories. I mean, I didn't see a huge flush of inventory hit the market in the last week, partly because of what's happening, but maybe also because we just have been having low inventory. So I could see where it's longer days on market.
Yeah.
And if that happens, there's going to be eventually a push to get on the market, right? There's going to be a pent up demand that's going to happen because people are going to wait this out only for so long, and then it's just going to go. So it's really hard to say right now.
Right. I agree. I definitely concur that the days on market, I think right here in Southwest Florida, it's about, the average is around 100 days to sale. So I can definitely see that being pushed out quite a bit. I think though, right now, I think there's going to be less buyers looking for homes. I think that's going to be the biggest drive. That's my opinion. Of course, I could be totally wrong, and it will be different everywhere around the country.
I think you're right. I mean, we lost a couple of transactions last week because, well, one of them was the husband and wife worked in the service industry, and they both got laid off, So there was a lot of layoffs last week. I mean, and that we're just at the beginning of this. Yeah. And then we had another one that was over $1 million that was taken out of escrow because the buyer was from California, got nervous about her stock portfolio dropping 40%. There was a lot of fear, with just the instant change and everything that happened so quickly. So hopefully that's kind of gone through. Then there's going to be a little bit of, I think, a stagnation where people are trying to figure out, like, should I jump in? Should I wait? Will the interest rates get lower? Will the prices come down? Like, everyone's kind of trying to figure out, like, where's this going? And, it's just hard to see that. But then I think eventually there will be a portion of buyers that come into the marketplace, but not as many, because a lot of those people that could afford to buy can't right now. They're stuck with no job, or they're worried about their jobs.
Yeah, that just happened to me. Some people who were ready to go, they got their hours cut back, and now they're like, "Oh, we're going to sit tight."
Yeah.
So let's actually look back at this. So you were in real estate during the Great Recession. Like, what comparisons do you see that happened? Because you had, so if you were doing real estate in 19, you rode that wave right through like 2005,
yeah,
and then 2008, it all came crumbling down. I mean, what do you see similar to now?
That is a good question. Well, first of all, the fear. So I'm whipping out my old toolbox, right, from the Great Recession. I'm dusting it off right now, and I'm having these flashbacks. And I was funny, the last week, I'm like, wow, like, fear is a reality, and fear drives people. So people are either in fear mode, or they're racing to, go do a bunch of stuff, right? And then everybody acts like lemmings. Like, we kind of all do this. We all shift about the same time. And I remember, like, I just had this conversation with a client of mine like a month and a half ago, where I was like, man, I wish I would have bought properties in the recession. I wish I would have had the ability to buy a bunch, because you could get a smoking deal, right? And Warren Buffett always says, when everyone's in fear, buy, and when everyone's buying, don't, or be fearful. And right now there is opportunity that's going to come about this. So I will say that the resemblance is the fear. It takes about 3 to 6 months for real estate agents in general to, like, almost come to an acceptance of where we're at. There's a lot of brokers that are going to be like, oh no, this is all going to go back to normal. I just wait this thing out. Or they're in fear mode and they get paralyzed and they don't act quick enough. And most of realtors, good realtors, experienced realtors, new realtors, they don't change with what the market's doing. So, like, back in the recession, I was one of the first to start doing short sales because my client called me and said, I got to sell this thing. And I literally went down the handbook and was like, okay, we're going to do a short sale. And I had agents telling me, oh no, I'm never going to do a short sale. That's all you. And so people were sending me their short sales to do, and I just pay them a referral fee. And those same brokers were out of business in a matter of 8 months. And so I didn't necessarily want to go and do short sales, but that was how I paid the bills. That's how I stayed in business. And I got a knack for it. It was fine. But I think what's going to happen is we're all going to have to figure out, like, what does that next thing look like if this thing gets drawn out, which it's looking like it will. How does that mean we have to behave differently? We've just come out of a huge market. I've been telling brokers for the last 4 or 5 years, this is an easy market to sell in. It's an easy market to sell in. Now it's going to take the skills. You got to whip the skills back out. So if realtors don't get right and get real, you know, it's going to affect their businesses significantly. So I think I'm already starting to see some brokers who are like, this is no big deal. Just wait this thing out, blah, 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 blah. They don't want to do anything different, but we're going to have to find out what does different look like. Yeah,
real soon too. My thoughts on that also is that there's going to be a lot of realtors who are just going to kind of give it up, and especially, I mean, you know the facts, right? Like 80% kind of quit after 18 months. I mean, I think a lot of that's going to go up, especially since we don't have a regular income or a paycheck, and it's going to be very interesting to see. So let's kind of expand on this further, though. So one of my questions I always like to ask is, what do you see in like the next 5 years? Because obviously, you know, you starting back in the early 2000s, it's been a dramatic shift. You've had the internet come on, change the game. What do you see happening in the next 5 years? That like got the wheels turning.
Well, I think my response would have been very different if you'd asked me like a month ago, before this whole coronavirus had kicked in. In some respects, I have a little bit of hope that there is a kind of a cleansing of the system where we have a surplus here in Portland of agents. I mean, I think we have like 10,000 or so licensed agents, and only 700 plus are doing enough business to make an income at it. It's been highly competitive. We've seen a lot of pressure down on our commissions. There's a lot of the iBuyers came into the community significantly. All the iBuyers have put everything on hold, except for our brokerage. EXP has now got theirs kicking in here in Oregon in the next week or two. But I would say, based on what I'm seeing with the coronavirus and the possibilities that it could sort of, you know, cleanse the system a little bit, I think it's just hard to say. I mean, I can see a lot of things happening in the next year, and I don't want to be a doomsdayer, but I'm also very much a preparer type. So if we do fall victim to a recession, just based on the natural order of how these things go when you enter a pandemic, and this is my first pandemic, so I get to put that on my, you know, I can get like a badge of honor for recession, a badge of honor for the pandemic. But I think we're just going to have to, I think a lot of brokers are going to be having to ask themselves, do they need to operate these big teams with big expenses and do the big hat, no cattle thing? Or we're going to be focused more, I think, on profitability as agents. And what does that really look like? Because we've kind of come out of an era of like internet leads, right? Like everybody could buy internet leads and start a team and look really great. But profitability wasn't really a factor, but you could sell enough houses to look like you know what you're doing and to probably scratch out a living. I think people are going to have to get down to absolute fundamentals again. You know, it's always been about fundamentals. And I know with my business this year, I cut out trimmed a lot of the tools and the lead generation stuff that just cost a lot of money and the ROI sucked. And we got down to basics, calling our database and taking care of people and not being so transactional, but more relational. And that is just more profitable all day long.
Awesome. So let's get into something a little bit lighter. So, I mean, what's your biggest real estate growth secret that's worked for you since day one that's still working today? Is it that relationship building, or what can you share?
I mean, definitely relationship building always. I always teach about like dollar producing activities. So like, you know, most we can be busy all day long with a million different things. We can work on our website. We can go to lunch with people. We can go do this or that. But if you're not really like building up your pipeline of people that need your services in the coming weeks and months, you're just going to have these dramatic shifts in your business, and you're always going to be just chasing, and it's not going to be fun, you know? And so I always tell people, like, look at your week and don't do anything other than dollar producing activities, which is calling clients, following up, writing contracts, showing homes, going on listing appointments. Like, it should be literally you're going to getting a client to that next step. Like, that's it first, foremost. Everything else doesn't matter. And then you can add in all the other stuff. But for me, that's what's always been like, I look at I've done this since 20 years, and it's what's going to make me business, what are my projects, and what's my personal stuff. And, you know, you knock out your dollar producing activities first so that you can, you know, stay in business.
Yeah. Ultra focus. I love it. It's been awesome, man. So last two questions. What real estate professional do you highly respect that could share some amazing value with the audience of Real Estate Growth Secrets?
There's a lot of them that I pick from. I don't know if I have one that I would say is like my, you know, superhero, but I will say that there's so much great content out here, and you're obviously producing great content by interviewing various people that people can, you know, listen to later. Like I tell everyone, if you can't afford coaching, you can listen to podcasts, YouTube. There is so much free content out there that you can gorge yourself on, and you have to feel out who you like their information. But if you don't need to just find one person. There's going to be a lot of people you can glean from. So I know that's probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but it depends on right now. You know, I've got a couple podcasts I listen to, and I add more in, and, you know, it depends on the times we're in and what mood I'm in. But I would just say that there's just a lot of really great, I didn't have that in the business when I first got in. I didn't have podcasts. There was no like really good YouTube channels. Like there wasn't all these like free content. You had to hire somebody, you know?
Yeah. Well, what's your top podcast? Let's hear that.
Gosh, my top podcast.
It's the Real Estate Growth Secrets podcast.
Oh yeah. It's now one. Who was I listening to this morning? Kevin and Fred is one that I really like. I listen to Tim and Julie Harris. There's just some variety of stuff on here, but you know, and you're starting to interview a lot of really great people. So, you know, it's just really easy to gorge on information right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been telling people. You're home, you know, use this time, use it wisely. Don't just sit on your butt and watch Netflix, because
right.
Still got a whole day. And if you got to be home, make it productive somehow. So
exactly.
Awesome. All right, Ann, it's been a pleasure. How can people get in touch with you?
They can go to my website, sellingportlandhomes.com, and my contact information is there. Happy to connect with people.
All right, everybody in Portland, you better hit up Ann Stewart. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much, and hope to see you back soon.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, take care.